Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Reborn in Highschool DxD as a Lucifuge. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 321, Scheming for the Simulated Star Creation Map Asuka Kudu. I see. Roy frowned. Currently, it was 2 years after Arcadia's destruction. Sakamaki Izayoi would arrive in the 3rd year. But Canaria had been banished decades ago. The flow of time was different outside Little Garden. Only 2 years had passed here, so Canaria shouldn't have died from exhausting her gift yet. He wanted to find her and perhaps save her life. But more importantly, Roy was interested in Izayoi's simulated star creation map, a gift coveted even by Solaric level beings. Possessing it might even give him a chance to reach cosmic level. But finding Canaria was a problem. Suddenly, Roy slapped his forehead. "What's wrong, Roy?" Black Rabbit asked, concerned. "I just thought of a way to find Canaria," Roy said with a smile. "Really? What is it?" Black Rabbit was excited. "It's a secret." "I have my ways," Roy chuckled, not explaining further. His method involved the system's world travel ability. The system allowed him to travel to different points in time within the same world. So, traveling to the time when Izayoi was on his original world was possible. He turned to Black Rabbit. "You take care of the community matters. I'll be back soon with Canaria." "That's wonderful. But will you be back in time?" Black Rabbit, while overjoyed, was worried about the gift game in 3 days. If Roy wasn't back by then, they would be in trouble. "Even if I'm not back, Lukua and the others can easily defeat Laius." "Don't worry," Roy said with a wave of his hand. "If you say so," Black Rabbit reluctantly agreed. Roy, after a brief farewell to Lukua and the others, left Arcadia. He reappeared on a modern-looking planet. He concealed his aura to avoid being detected by Canaria, then confirmed the current time. "Canaria hasn't used the poet's gift yet." "Perfect." Sensing no signs of Canaria's weakening, he knew he had arrived at the right time. He also saw a 10-year-old Sakamaki Izayoi. This meant Canaria was already preparing to use the poet's gift. Once the historical turning point arrived, Izayoi would receive several powerful gifts, including the simulated star creation map. "Can I intercept it?" Roy wondered. He suddenly remembered his authorities from the Campione world, including the Prophecy Authority, which allowed him to see the past and the future and even change them. "I don't know if it'll work, but I can try," Roy smirked. It was worth a shot. And even if he failed, it wasn't a big deal. The simulated star creation map wasn't unique to Izayoi in Little Garden. To steal the gift, he had to remain hidden. Roy observed Canaria's every move from the shadows. Time flowed differently outside Little Garden, so he wasn't worried about missing the gift game. On this planet, besides Canaria, there were also 2 former Arcadia members, Baron Lacroix and Kome Kasakabe, the former leader. After being banished, Kome seemed to have given up on revenge, settling down and starting a family. Baron Lacroix was similar. He seemed to have no intention of returning to Little Garden, perhaps lacking the power or the will. Only Canaria was still fixated on revenge, determined to avenge Arcadia's destruction and reclaim her community's former glory. Days turned into weeks, and Canaria still hadn't used the poet's gift. One day, Roy encountered a young girl with brown hair in a park. She looked like a rich kid, a proper little lady, an Ojusama. "Little girl, why are you alone? Want to come with me for some candy?" A fat man approached her, a creepy smile on his face. An ordinary child, hearing the word candy, might have been tempted. But this girl was different. Her eyes were sharp, and she didn't react to his offer. "Get lost, you creep," she said coldly, glaring at him with disdain. The fat man, angered by her dismissive tone, snarled, "You little brat." He lunged at her. A child would have been terrified. But this girl's expression remained unchanged, her demeanor cold and aloof. "Stop." As soon as she spoke, the fat man froze mid-stride, as if bound by an invisible force. "Get down." Thud. The fat man collapsed to his knees, the sound of cracking bones echoing through the park. It seemed he had broken his kneecaps. He screamed in agony. The other people in the park shivered and avoided the area. "Shut up." The girl, covering her ears, couldn't stand his cries. As soon as she spoke, the fat man's screams stopped abruptly. Finally, some peace. The girl sighed in relief, then waved her hand dismissively. "Roll out." She didn't want to see him anymore. The fat man, as if obeying a command, began rolling on the ground. Roy and the girl were stunned. She had told him to roll out, but she hadn't meant literally. Roy approached them, clapping his hands. The little girl, seeing Roy, was startled by his handsome appearance, then she tensed up, remembering that she had just used her powers in public. "Don't worry, you did well." "What's your name?" Roy asked gently, approaching her. The girl calmed down and looked at him curiously. "I'm Asuka Kudu." "Who are you? Aren't you afraid of my power?" She was Asuka Kudu, one of the main heroines. "I'm Roy." "You can call me Onie-chan," Roy said with a smile. "Roy? Who are you, really?" Asuka didn't use the honorific. She wasn't easily fooled. Having possessed her unique abilities since childhood, she had few friends. This had made her independent and wary of strangers. "Tell me, who are you?" As soon as she finished speaking, a strange force compelled Roy to reveal his true identity. This was Asuka's gift, Oraculum? It was quite powerful. Roy was impressed. Oraculum could control people and even other gifts. It was a formidable ability. Alas, it was useless against Roy. "You weren't affected by my power." Asuka frowned. "Of course not." "You're not strong enough to control me yet," Roy chuckled. "And you don't have to be so wary. I mean you no harm. You couldn't stop me even if you wanted to." Asuka considered his words, then realized he was right. Her power had no effect on him. Calling for help would be pointless. "That's better. Now, how about some cake?" Roy sat down on a nearby bench and beckoned her over. Asuka, still suspicious, approached him. Roy took out a piece of cake and offered it to her. Asuka looked at the cake. It was beautifully decorated and smelled delicious of vanilla and cream. But she didn't take it. She was still wary. She wouldn't trust a stranger so easily. "You don't want it? Then I'll eat it myself." Roy shrugged and took a bite. So sweet." He moaned in satisfaction after finishing the small cake. Asuka couldn't help but gulp. While she was a rich kid and had plenty of cakes at home, this cake smelled different. It was incredibly tempting. Roy chuckled, seeing her conflicted expression, wanting the cake but still wary. "Don't worry, there's nothing in the cake. I'm not interested in little girls like you. And besides, you couldn't resist me even if I did want to do something," he teased. Asuka realized he was right. She was already sitting beside him. If he wanted to do something, she couldn't stop him. "Give me one," she demanded. "No problem," Roy said, handing her a piece of vanilla cake. Chapter 322, Canaria's Gift, The Paradigm Shift, Acquiring the Simulated Star Creation Map. Asuka Kudu took the cake and ate it without hesitation. As Roy had said, she couldn't resist him, so there was no point in being cautious. "I don't think I've gotten your name yet," Roy said with a smile. "Asuka Kudu," she replied, her mouth full of cake. "Asuka. Why are you here alone?" "Jay just taking a walk." Asuka stammered, her cheeks slightly flushed. Roy chuckled, seeing through her lie, but didn't press the matter. Asuka's gift, Oraculum, made other children fear her, so she had few friends. By the way, Roy, who exactly are you? Asuka asked after finishing her cake, her curiosity about him growing. Me? I'm from a faraway land. And I'm not human. I'm a devil, Roy said, trying to scare her playfully. But Asuka wasn't fazed. A devil? I don't believe you. She had never seen a devil, but in her imagination, they weren't this handsome. Ha, if you don't believe me, I'll tell you a story about a devil. Want to hear it? Roy offered. Yes. Asuka nodded eagerly. Roy smiled and began to tell the story of a low-level devil who became incredibly powerful, his own story, of course. Asuka was captivated by the fantastical tale, completely engrossed. By the time they realized how much time had passed, it was already evening. Alright, that's enough for today. You should head home, Asuka, Roy said, ending the story. Asuka was disappointed. She wanted to hear more. But it was getting late. If she didn't go back soon, someone might come looking for her. She had snuck out today. Her family wouldn't have allowed her to approach a stranger otherwise. Thank you, Roy. Can I see you again? Asuka asked, reluctant to leave. What if she never heard another story again? Roy thought for a moment. I'll be on your way to school tomorrow. You'll see me then. Okay. It's a promise. See you tomorrow. Asuka nodded happily and ran off. Roy watched her leave, a smirk playing on his lips. Asuka's background wasn't as simple as it seemed. She was a descendant of the Arcadia members who had been exiled to this planet, and she was even being groomed as a potential future leader. It seemed there were still many former Arcadia members here. But he couldn't bring them all back to Little Garden. That would destabilize No Name. It was best to only bring back Canaria and a few others. The next day, Roy, as promised, waited for Asuka on her way to school. He had transformed into a child to blend in. Roy, why are you a kid? Asuka asked, much more comfortable with him now, having clearly accepted him as a friend. So I can go to school with you, of course, Roy chuckled. Asuka's eyes lit up, touched by his gesture. He had transformed into a child just for her. Here. She took out a small, beautifully wrapped pastry from her bag. You treated me to cake yesterday. It's my turn today. Roy accepted the pastry. Thank you. Asuka smiled. They reached the school. Thanks to Roy's preemptive use of his perception-altering magic, they entered without any issues. He was enrolled as a transfer student in Asuka's class. Several familiar faces were also present: Izayoi Sakamaki, Yo Kasakabe, and Hamura Segu. Within a few days, Roy had become friends with them. He then began his plan, using his prophecy authority to subtly alter their fates. Months passed. Roy sensed a shift in the world. Asuka, Yo, and the others called, informing him that they wouldn't be attending school today. It seemed Canaria was finally going to use the poet's gift to alter history. She wanted to trigger a paradigm shift and become the center of a new pantheon. But the paradigm shift wouldn't unfold as she expected. Canaria was too weak. She wouldn't gain much from the paradigm shift. But Roy could. With his prophecy authority, he could alter the course of the paradigm shift and reap the benefits himself. It's beginning. While in his rented apartment, Roy could see Canaria and the other former Arcadia members through his authority. Canaria had activated the poet's gift. It was an invisible change. But Roy could see the ripples in the river of fate and manipulate them. As Canaria's divinity rapidly declined, the poet's gift activated. Simultaneously, an unknown power, guided by Roy, flowed into his body. After a long moment, he opened his eyes. It worked! Roy was overjoyed. He had successfully intercepted the simulated star creation map. With the simulated star creation map, once activated, and combined with Shiroyasha reclaiming her divinity, his power would surge dramatically. Then, he could truly dominate Little Garden. Roy began studying the simulated star creation map, trying to activate it. Each person's simulated star creation map had different abilities. It wasn't a bounded field. It was more like a rule. Anyone within its domain had to obey its rules. For example, Azidahaka's Avesta, as long as the opponent wasn't human or Zoroastrian, it could perfectly copy their power and even nullify their attacks. Or the star Tai Sui of His Highness, as long as the opponent was a natural-born god, dragon, or star spirit, it could forcibly seal the opponent regardless of the power difference. Roy's simulated star creation map, having been acquired from his AOI, had similar abilities. It was the power to create miracles. In the original story, his AOI had used it to create a massive pillar of light that pierced the heaven and shattered stars. But that was just a superficial application. The true power of the simulated star creation map was far greater. It was the core of a pantheon, the foundation of a universe. It was a domain where everyone had to follow its rules. Perhaps I can even create a universe, Roy chuckled. He didn't delve too deeply into its mechanics. It wasn't something he could master in a short time. He had to bring Canaria back to Little Garden. He couldn't miss the gift game with Laius. The next day, Roy revealed himself to Canaria and the others. Canaria, having exhausted her divinity using the poet's gift, had only 5 years left to live, having shortened her original 500-year lifespan. This was the punishment for being banished from Little Garden. Inside Little Garden, divinity could be replenished. Banishing them was a slow death sentence. Who are you? Roy's sudden appearance in Canaria's room startled her. She was lying weakly in bed, her divinity depleted. Black Rabbit sent me to bring you back, Roy said, observing Canaria carefully. Her short, golden hair and delicate features made her look both beautiful and capable, despite her current weakened state. Her nightgown revealed her surprisingly ample bosom. She was quite attractive. Roy was surprised. He hadn't expected her to be so well endowed. Canaria struck him as intelligent, beautiful, and surprisingly voluptuous. Arcadia wouldn't have achieved such heights without her. In her youth, Canaria had even been mentored by Baron Lacroix, Sun Wukong, the Halloween Queen, and even Indra. She was well connected in Little Garden. But why hadn't anyone helped her after she was banished? Roy was puzzled, then he realized that perhaps Shiroyasha, the Halloween Queen, and the others didn't have the power to find her outside Little Garden. Black Rabbit? Canaria repeated the name, then her eyes lit up. Did Black Rabbit really send you? Yes. Roy nodded. That's wonderful. How is Arcadia doing? Her first thought was for her community. It's been 2 years since you left. Arcadia is no more. Only No Name remains, struggling to survive. So, they took our flag and name? That's why they're called No Name? Damn it! Canaria's voice was filled with anger and frustration. But what could she do? She didn't have the power to fight the demon lords. Chapter 323, Canaria's Compromise, returning to Little Garden with Canaria. Seeing Canaria's self-reproach, Roy chuckled. Canaria-senpai, don't worry. While No Name's current situation is less than ideal, I'm confident we can reclaim our flag and name soon. Canaria calmed down slightly, hearing his words. She had been exiled for over a decade, her heart aching for Arcadia. By the way, I don't think I've gotten your name. And how did you join No Name? She asked, curious. He had managed to find them. He must be special. Call me Roy. I haven't been with No Name for long. Let me tell you about our current situation. Roy introduced himself and explained No Name's current state. After hearing his explanation, Canaria understood. She was impressed that this young man had become the leader of No Name in such a short time, even winning a gift game and resolving their immediate crisis. It seemed Black Rabbit had chosen wisely. He was capable of leading No Name. But she was also concerned. No Name wasn't the same as Arcadia. This boy clearly had his own ambitions. If they all returned to Little Garden, would it cause internal conflict? After all, the previous leader of Arcadia, Kome, was still alive, along with many other former members. And she, having used the poet's gift, was nearing the end of her life. She wasn't sure how much she could contribute to No Name. These were the thoughts weighing on Canaria's mind. Roy, seeing her silence, understood her concerns. Canaria, don't worry. I welcome Arcadia's former members back to Little Garden. But they must follow my lead, he said, his words leaving no room for misinterpretation. He was in charge of No Name now. I know you want revenge against the demon lords who destroyed Arcadia. Come with me. No Name needs you. And in your current state, you won't last much longer, Roy said, gently persuading her. Canaria frowned. She knew her time was running out. She had used the poet's gift, hoping to trigger a paradigm shift and gain divinity, becoming the center of a new pantheon. It seemed she had been too naive. If she returned to Little Garden, she might recover. She pondered his offer. Roy waited patiently, admiring her form. I'll go with you. But I want No Name to develop according to my vision. And I can't guarantee the others will follow you, Canaria said, looking at him intently. Roy chuckled and shook his head. Develop according to your vision? I can't agree to that. But I believe our goals align. We both want No Name to reclaim its flag and name, to become the sole floor master of Little Garden once more. Our objectives are the same, aren't they? Reclaim our flag and name? Become the sole floor master? Canaria was surprised by his confidence. But he was right. Their goals did align. After a moment of consideration, Canaria nodded. All right, I agree. She didn't have much of a choice. Roy's appearance had given her hope of reviving Arcadia and getting her revenge. Even if No Name wasn't the same as Arcadia, she couldn't refuse. Roy smiled. Welcome back. With Canaria's agreement, things became much simpler. She gathered the former Arcadia members and discussed the matter with them. However, upon learning about No Name's current state, most of them hesitated. They had been living on this peaceful planet for over a decade and had grown accustomed to their new lives. They had formed new bonds, new attachments. Returning to Little Garden to face those terrifying demon lords, they didn't have the courage. They had been defeated at Arcadia's peak. What was the point of going back? So, in the end, only a few agreed to return to Little Garden. Among them were Asuka and Yo, whom Arcadia had been grooming as future leaders. Izaoi Sakamaki wasn't present. He might not even be aware of the situation. Canaria didn't want to involve him in this conflict. While Asuka and Yo were willing to go to Little Garden with Roy, their families wouldn't allow it. Roy didn't force them. They were only 10 years old, after all. So, it's just me? Canaria sighed, seeing that no one else was willing to return. We still have Asuka and Yo. While they can't come now, once we reclaim our flag and name, the others will likely change their minds, Roy said, comforting her. I hope so. Canaria nodded, then looked at him curiously. Roy, why are you so confident we can reclaim our flag and name? Because of my strength, Roy said with a smile. Strength? I still don't know how strong you are. You managed to find us outside Little Garden, Canaria's curiosity grew, seeing his confidence. You'll find out soon enough. But first, shouldn't we deal with those two over there? Roy gestured towards two little girls hiding behind a nearby door. One had long black hair and was wearing a red Lolita dress Asuka Kudu. The other was petite, with short brown hair and a cat in her arms, Yokasakabe. What are you two doing here? Canaria asked, having also noticed them. We want to go to Little Garden with you, Asuka said hesitantly. That's right. I've always wanted to see the world Daddy talked about, Yo added with a smile. You're too young. You can't just run away from home. And your families wouldn't allow it, Canaria sighed. I don't care. I'm going. Roy-oni-chan, you'll let us come, right? Asuka looked at Roy pleadingly. After months of spending time together, they had become close friends, and Asuka now comfortably called him Oni-chan. It might be good for them to see the world. And it'll be easy for them to return if they want, Roy said, nodding in agreement. Yay! Asuka cheered. Fine. Canaria sighed, giving up on arguing. We should leave now, before their families come looking for them, Roy said. All right. Canaria nodded. Roy took Asuka and Yoa's hands, then activated a teleportation circle. They vanished. Just as they left, Kome and Baron Lacroix arrived, but they were too late. Little Garden. Arcadia headquarters. The gift game with Laius is about to begin. Why isn't Roy back yet? Black Rabbit paced anxiously. Black Rabbit, we've told you, we can handle it. Even if Roy's not here, it'll be fine, Toro reassured her. That's right. I can defeat them all on my own. Ilialu declared, puffing out her chest. Black Rabbit sighed. She knew Toro, Ilialu, and the others were powerful, but without Roy, she felt uneasy. It seems he's not coming. Let's go. She was about to lead them to the gift game arena. When? Seems like I made it just in time. 4 figures appeared in the hall. Black Rabbit and the others' eyes lit up, recognizing the familiar voice. Roy's back. I'm back. Roy greeted them with a smile. Canaria-sama. Black Rabbit, seeing Canaria behind Roy, was overjoyed, her blue hair and bunny ears turning pink. Black Rabbit, it's been a while, Canaria said, patting Black Rabbit's head affectionately. When Black Rabbit was young, she had been bestowed with 4 divine regalia, marking her as a divine child of the Moon Rabbit tribe. Black Rabbit wasn't her real name. She was supposed to receive her true name at her naming ceremony when she turned 10. But the ceremony had been interrupted by the demon lord, Azzy-Dahaka, so she never learned her true name. On her 10th birthday, her home was destroyed by Azzy-Dahaka. Canaria had rescued her and taken her in, adopting her as her daughter. Canaria had always treated Black Rabbit as her own child. This is interesting, Roy mused, looking at Canaria and Black Rabbit with a smirk. Letitia. It's so good to see you're all right. Canaria finally noticed Letitia. Welcome back. While Letitia didn't say much, her joy was evident. Chapter 324, Demon Lord Algol, the Idiot Laius Perseus. Alright, it's time for us to go to the gift game with Laius. Roy announced, breaking up the reunion. Huh? A gift game with Laius? Canaria frowned. She hadn't heard anything about this. Black Rabbit will fill you in. Let's talk on the way. Roy waved his hand and activated a teleportation spell. In the next moment, they vanished from the hall. They reappeared in a forest clearing. Suddenly, another figure materialized before them. It was Shiroyasha. You're finally here, Shiroyasha began to complain, but stopped mid-sentence, her eyes widening as she saw Canaria. Canaria? Shiroyasha-sama. Canaria bowed respectfully. Black Rabbit had explained that without Shiroyasha's help, no name would have likely collapsed long ago. Canaria was deeply grateful. I can't believe you're back in Little Garden. Roy, did you do this? Shiroyasha looked at Roy in amazement. She, too, had been searching for Canaria, but Little Garden's vastness made it an impossible task, even for her. Yet, Roy had not only found Canaria but also brought her back. Roy simply smiled without replying. Shiroyasha, though delighted to see Canaria's return, knew this wasn't the time for a reunion. The rules of this gift game are simple, it's a siege. Laius's castle is over there. Defeat him, and we win. Easy. Leave it to us. Siko stepped forward, eager for a challenge. Us too. Toru, Ilyulu, and the others were already raring to go. Good. I'll leave it to you. Roy nodded, confident that Siko and the others were more than enough to handle this, as long as they were prepared for Laius's gift card. Algol. Algol was one of Little Garden's original problem children, as infamous as Shiroyasha and the Halloween Queen. It normally took the form of a golden, skull-shaped ornament, Laius's most powerful gift. Algol possessed a petrification ability called the Glare of Medusa. When unsealed, it transformed into a gray-haired woman bound by chains and restraints, constantly emitting a piercing scream. Originally, Algol was a celestial star spirit, a demon lord with many titles, including Medusa and Primordial Demon. Due to her portrayal as a primordial demon in the Hebrew Old Testament, she wreaked havoc across countless eras and worlds, engaging in battles against the Devas and Buddhas of the 3,000 worlds. It took countless years for the pantheons to finally seal her. However, the Old Testament pantheon refused to safeguard the seal of such a problem child. After much deliberation, the Greek pantheon took custody of her. But Algol, dissatisfied with Athena's beauty and normie lifestyle, waged war against her. Perseus, seizing an opportunity while Algol was intoxicated, assassinated her, ending the conflict between the goddesses. Algol was then integrated into the Greek mythology, her status falling from star spirit to mere divinity, becoming subordinate to Perseus. Now, she served Laius. But due to Laius's immaturity, Algol's power was drastically reduced, currently only at planetary level. Even so, she shouldn't be underestimated. Anyone unable to resist the petrifying glare of Medusa would become easy prey. Roy, how do you know so much about Laius? Black Rabbit asked, puzzled. Roy had just arrived in Little Garden, he shouldn't know these things. That's a secret. Roy chuckled, shrugging, offering no further explanation. We'll be careful, Siko said, nodding seriously. As they spoke, they reached Laius's castle. Siko, Ilyulu, and the others charged inside without hesitation. Laius's community, Perseus, wasn't weak, but they were no match for Siko and the others. Within moments, only Laius remained. They gathered in a large, arena-like space. Useless. Can't believe they couldn't even stop a single one of you. Laius shook his head in disdain. He was, of course, referring to his own community members. You're such a jerk. Your subordinates are fighting for their lives, and you're just sitting here making snide remarks? Toru exclaimed, her hands on her hips. You're not fit to be a leader. Siko blared at him, her eyes icy. Oof. How I treat my subordinates is my business. It's none of your concern, Laius retorted, annoyed. Oof, regardless, welcome to the upper levels. Allow me to entertain you. Laius stood up from his throne, a condescending smirk on his face. Of course, I won't be the one fighting. White wings sprouted from his sides, lifting him into the air. He looked down at them and continued, You're not worth my time. As soon as he finished speaking, a lightning-fast sword strike tore through the air, narrowly missing him. Laius's eyes widened in shock as he instinctively teleported a short distance, narrowly avoiding the attack. Despite dodging the attack, he was drenched in cold sweat. He hadn't expected them to attack without warning, not even letting him finish his arrogant posturing. Siko blared at him, her hand resting on the hilt of her katana. It was clear she had been the one to attack. She wouldn't tolerate anyone insulting Roy. Damn! Laius, recovering from his shock, was furious. This time, he didn't waste any words. He ripped the necklace from his neck and raised it high. Awakened Demon Lord Algol! He roared, and a crimson light erupted from the skull-shaped necklace, shooting towards the ceiling. Rumble! Thunder echoed through the air, and a bolt of crimson lightning descended from the sky. Boom! The ground exploded, creating a large crater, and a 3-meter-tall, blue-haired monster, crouched on all fours, appeared before them. So this is the Demon Lord Algol. Siko, Toru, and the others looked at Algol, their expressions serious. Roy looked at Algol's grotesque appearance with disgust. He remembered that Algol had once been adorable. How had she become this monstrous? Oof, Algol, unleash your demonic power. Laius sneered. Algol shrieked in response, and a beam of black and red energy shot towards them. It's the glare of Medusa. Scatter! Black Rabbit shouted a warning. But they didn't move. I'll take this. Toro stepped forward, taking a deep breath, and unleashed a torrent of crimson dragon breath. Rumble! The two beams collided mid-air, creating a shockwave that shook the arena. Algol's gift was powerful, but Toro was no pushover. Dragon breath was one of the strongest attacks a dragon could unleash. Moreover, Algol's power was currently limited. Seeing the stalemate, Siko and Ilialu joined the fray. Siko unleashed a lightning-fast sword strike. Ilialu, meanwhile, unleashed a barrage of fireballs, each one as powerful as Toru's dragon breath. Laius, seeing that he was also within the blast radius, paled with fear. He was a hedonist, not a fighter. He was completely outmatched. As the attacks approached, he instinctively summoned Algol to shield him. Rumble! Toru, Ilialu, and Siko's attacks struck Algol simultaneously. A massive cloud of dust and debris filled the arena, obscuring their vision. Idiot, Roy scoffed, seeing Laius's last-minute action. He's an absolute liability. He's just hindering Algol, Canaria agreed. Laius had pulled Algol into the path of three powerful attacks. Even a star spirit would struggle to withstand such a combined assault. Toru, Ilialu, and Siko were all planetary-level powerhouses. Algol could barely handle one of them, let alone all three. And with Laius hindering her, defeat was inevitable. Looks like this gift game is already decided. Roy shook his head. He had expected Laius to be more prepared after their previous encounter, but he was still as foolish as ever. He had underestimated them completely. When the dust settled, as Roy predicted, Algol, having taken the full brunt of the combined attack, was severely injured. Laius, shielded by Algol, remained unharmed. Damn it! Algol, kill them! Laius, oblivious to Algol's condition, pointed at Toro, Ilialu, and Siko, roaring in rage. Chapter 325, One Punch Man World. Algol shrieked and lunged again, but it was no use. Toro and Ilialu were equally formidable in close combat. As dragons. Their raw power was immense, even Algol couldn't gain an advantage. However, their battle wouldn't reach a conclusion. Siko wasn't bound by the convention of defeating the summoned being before attacking the summoner. She wouldn't keep Roy waiting. A flash of violet light sliced through the night sky, and Siko appeared behind Laius. Her sword returned to its sheath. Thwack! Before Laius could even utter a plea for mercy, he was slain. Simultaneously, Algol reverted to her skull necklace form. Roy reached out, and the necklace flew into his hand. He was quite interested in the artifact. Perhaps he could restore Algol to her former glory. Then, using an evil piece to form a contract with her would be a significant boost to his power. I declare no name the victor of this gift game. Shiroyasha appeared, announcing the result. No one was surprised. With Roy leading them, victory was a foregone conclusion. Black Rabbit, go and collect our winnings from Laius's community, Roy instructed. Okay. Black Rabbit nodded, ready to carry out her duties. Roy, you shouldn't have killed him, Shiroyasha said suddenly. Roy waved his hand dismissively. Doesn't matter. I already said, if the Greek pantheon wants trouble, I'll be happy to oblige. Fine. Shiroyasha sighed. There was no point arguing now. She realized that Roy was also a problem child, a fearless one at that. This had been a gift game with everything on the line. There was never any possibility of a peaceful resolution. With the gift game concluded, they returned to the Arcadia headquarters. This gift game had been public, and they had killed a member of the Greek pantheon. The news would undoubtedly spread throughout Little Garden. The Greek pantheon would likely retaliate openly. And those who had destroyed Arcadia, the Ouroboros alliance, wouldn't stand idly by and watch no name rise again. Roy had anticipated these potential problems, but he wasn't concerned. He just needed to wait for Shiroyasha to reclaim her divinity. Then, he could break through to Solaric level. Combined with the simulated star creation map he now possessed, he would be among the strongest even at the Solaric level. With Shiroyasha's help, they could dominate Little Garden. The twin goddesses, the Halloween Queen, and all the others would bow before him. All of Little Garden would be under his control. Of course, this was just a future possibility. For now, after defeating Perseus, no one would challenge No Name for a while. This was a period of rapid development for No Name. Black Rabbit was incredibly busy every day, thankfully assisted by Canaria. Otherwise, she would be overwhelmed. Roy, meanwhile, settled into a leisurely routine, teasing Shirayukiheim and the other girls. He was also waiting for Shiroyasha to reclaim her divinity, a crucial step, but not something that could be rushed. He patiently bided his time. In his free time, he brought more people over from the Highschool DxD world and Damachi, focusing on developing No Name. He needed more members. "I'm so bored." Roy sighed dramatically, lounging on Shirayukiheim's lap, enjoying the fruit she peeled for him, occasionally teasing her. He was hoping the Greek Pantheon or the Ouroboros Alliance would provide some entertainment, but neither side had made a move yet. "Roy, if you're bored, you could participate in the gift games held throughout Little Garden. Many of them are quite interesting," Canaria, finally free from her duties, said with a chuckle as she sipped her tea. "Interesting? I find them boring." Over the past few days, Roy had explored Little Garden City with the others. Many areas used gift games for events and entertainment, offering rewards to attract participants and boost popularity. Gift games were integrated into every aspect of their lives. Of course, not everyone had the authority to host gift games. Those without the authority would invite someone like Black Rabbit, who could communicate with the host master, to assist them. However, most gift games were too simple for Roy and the others. Hence, his boredom. "Perhaps I should visit another world. There are still so many I haven't been to yet," Roy mused. With that thought, he checked the system's world travel function. Over time, the number of accessible worlds in the system had increased significantly. Among them were worlds Roy was familiar with: Overlord, Re:Zero, Data Live, One Punch Man, Sword Art Online, and more. There were simply too many worlds to choose from, including some he hadn't even heard of. He stroked Shirayukiheim's thigh thoughtfully, pondering his options. One Punch Man world it is. After some consideration, he chose the One Punch Man world. It was one of his favorites. Having made his decision, he didn't tell anyone. After all, he'd be back in an instant. He made an excuse and left the living room, returning to his room to activate the system's world travel function. In the next moment, he vanished from Little Garden. One Punch Man world. Roy reappeared on an unfamiliar street. "Ah, there's a monster, run! So scary! Run away! Honey, save me!" Roy found the street in chaos. People seemed to be fleeing from something. "A monster, you say? Interesting." Observing the panicked crowd, Roy quickly understood the situation. He headed towards the source of the commotion. He soon found the monster, a grotesque, tentacled creature. "Hee, pretty ladies, don't run. I'll give you pleasure." The tentacle monster chased after the fleeing women. The women screamed in terror. Roy's eye twitched. What a bizarre monster. He was curious about its origins. "Hey! You have interesting taste. How did you even become a monster?" Roy stepped in front of the monster and asked. The tentacle monster was annoyed at being interrupted, but it was happy to answer his question. "I was watching a movie when the power went out. My resentment transformed me into this. But it's actually pretty great." The monster waved its tentacles proudly. Roy was speechless. What a strange origin story. "Now, human, move aside. I'm not interested in men. I'm looking for pretty ladies." The tentacle monster ignored him and slithered away. Roy was amused by the monster's single-mindedness and decided not to interfere. However, the tentacle monster didn't get far before it was taken down by someone claiming to be a hero. He was a bit disappointed that he didn't get to witness a tentacle monster versus female hero battle, but Roy found himself interested in the concept of heroes. Well, since I have nothing better to do, I might as well try playing hero for a change. Roy had always played the villain. It might be fun to try being a hero for a change. With a thought, he teleported to the Hero Association headquarters. Hey, I wonder if I'll run into Fubuki or Tatsumaki. Oh right, I don't even know the current timeline yet. Just then, a bald man in a yellow jumpsuit and a cool-looking cyborg walked over from nearby. It was Saitama and Genos. What a coincidence. Roy instantly grasped the current timeline. Genos had just brought Saitama to the Hero Association to take the hero test. It seemed the story hadn't progressed very far. In other words, Saitama and Genos had just defeated the House of Evolution. Roy stroked his chin thoughtfully. Just then, Saitama and Genos stopped beside him. Are you here for the hero test too? Saitama greeted him casually. Huh? Are you talking to me? Roy was surprised that Saitama would initiate a conversation. Yes, Saitama-sensei is talking to you, Genos confirmed. Oh. Yes, I'm here for the hero test, Roy replied with a smile and a nod. Is that so? Want to join us? Saitama invited. Roy was intrigued. Why would you invite me? Because, I get the feeling you're strong. Saitama looked at him intently, a spark of excitement in his eyes. Roy was stunned. Saitama could sense his strength? Chapter 326, Roy vs. Saitama. Saitama being able to perceive his strength was simply illogical. Roy chalked it up to intuition. Hello, my name is Roy. It's a pleasure to meet you both. I'm Saitama, and this is Genos, Saitama introduced, gesturing to his cyborg companion. After the introductions, they entered the Hero Association building together. The testing area was already filled with aspiring heroes. The three of them registered and the exam began. Roy didn't take the written exams seriously, answering casually. Saitama, on the other hand, put in a surprising amount of effort, breaking previous records and shocking everyone present. When the results were finally announced, Genos ranked 17th in S-Class, barely making the cut. Roy placed 5th in B-Class, unsurprising given his lack of effort. As for Saitama, he was ranked 388th in C-Class, a disappointing result despite his serious attempts. Hey, Saitama, don't be so down. Look, I'm only in B-Class, Roy said, clapping him on the shoulder, trying to cheer him up. Oh, right, Roy, want to spar? Saitama, momentarily consoled, suddenly looked at him intently. Ha? Sensei, you want to fight Roy? Genos was surprised. He had also been hoping to spar with Saitama. Yeah. I sense that Roy is really strong. Saitama nodded seriously. Roy smirked. Sure. He also wanted to see Saitama's strength firsthand. So, the three of them went to a nearby hill outside the city. Genos, you want to spar with Saitama too, right? Want to go first? Roy asked, turning to Genos after they chose a suitable location. Yes. I'd like to know my current weaknesses, Genos replied, nodding. Okay, then Genos will go first. Saitama, any objections? Roy looked at Saitama. Sure, that works. Saitama didn't refuse. He figured it wouldn't take long to defeat Genos. Roy wanted to witness their classic first spar, hence his suggestion. Without further ado, Genos attacked Saitama. As a cyborg, Genos' entire body was weaponized. His thrusters gave him incredible speed. Their battle was truly spectacular, and Roy watched with interest. However, the outcome was predetermined. Genos was defeated with a single blow. Seeing Genos' dejected expression, Roy offered some words of encouragement. Genos, your strength is already quite impressive. I think you'd rank high even among the S-class heroes. Genos snapped out of his stupor. Thank you, Roy-san. But I want to know, what are my weaknesses? Weaknesses. Saitama was clueless. He didn't know anything about cyborgs. Genos, your advantage is that as a cyborg, you don't feel pain. You can remain calm in battle, and your advanced weaponry gives you considerable power. However, Roy paused, his arms crossed. However, what? Genos pressed eagerly. However, your strength as a cyborg is also your weakness. Your power is limited by your mechanical enhancements. You can only become stronger through modifications, not through training, Roy explained. Genos looked downcast. He knew Roy was right. But there are other ways for you to become stronger. What ways? Genos asked eagerly. As a cyborg, you can only improve through modifications. Perhaps you could find a scientist to upgrade your weapons. The technology in the One Punch Man world was quite advanced. Roy immediately thought of Metal Knight. The Hero Association headquarters, built by Metal Knight, had withstood the bombardment from Boros's spaceship, demonstrating his technological prowess. It was rumored that Child Emperor, the 5th-ranked S-class hero, was Metal Knight's student. However, Metal Knight might be the cyborg who destroyed Genos' hometown, so Roy didn't recommend seeking him out. Honestly, if Genos could obtain the android technology from the Dragon Ball world, he would become incredibly powerful. But that was just wishful thinking. Thank you. Genos now had a clear path towards increasing his strength. However, Dr. Casino, his creator, had limited resources and couldn't provide him with significant upgrades immediately. It would take time. Roy chuckled. It was just a suggestion. Don't mention it. All right. Roy, it's time for our fight. Saitama, having waited for a while, was eager to battle him. Heh, bring it on. Roy chuckled. Genos retreated to a safe distance. He, too, was curious about Roy's strength. Saitama had sensed something special about him. Saitama didn't hesitate. He vanished, reappearing before Roy and throwing a punch. Roy didn't dodge. He caught Saitama's fist with one hand. Although his hand-to-hand combat skills weren't exceptional, he could still easily handle Saitama. Saitama, surprised that his casual punch was so easily blocked, his eyes lit up with excitement. He threw another punch. Normal punch. The punch, carrying a powerful shockwave, struck Roy's outstretched hand. Roy blocked it effortlessly. He wasn't just going to stand there and take hits. He casually threw a punch of his own. Boom! Saitama was sent flying like a cannonball, crashing into a distant mountain. Rumble! The mountain crumbled into rubble. Sensei! Genos, shocked and worried, rushed towards the destroyed mountain. Don't worry. That was nothing to Saitama, Roy chuckled, reassuring him. And indeed, it was true. The punch had only sent Saitama flying, it hadn't caused any injuries. Saitama emerged from the rubble, completely unharmed, and unleashed a flurry of punches at Roy. Consecutive normal punches. This time, Saitama was using a bit more of his strength. Roy, intrigued, decided to play along. Rumble! Their battle intensified, the shockwaves from their punches devastating the surrounding landscape. Genos, as a cyborg, could barely keep up with their speed, his optical sensors struggling to track their movements. In the blink of an eye, the area around them was reduced to ruins. It felt like an earthquake. The commotion attracted the attention of the Hero Association, and they dispatched a team to investigate. Meanwhile, Roy and Saitama's battle continued, neither of them using their full power. If they did, the planet wouldn't be able to withstand their combined might. Even so, the area around them was completely devastated. Sensei! Roy-san! The Hero Association is here! Genos suddenly shouted. Roy and Saitama stopped fighting. Let's call it a draw, Roy said, waving his hand dismissively. This kind of close-quarters combat was exhilarating, but he preferred using his swordsmanship and ice abilities. This spar with Saitama had satisfied his itch for a good fight. Okay. Next time, let's find a quiet place and fight again. Saitama was still eager for a rematch. He had finally found someone who could challenge him, someone he couldn't defeat with a single punch. Roy rolled his eyes but nodded in agreement. Let's get out of here first. He called out to Genos, and the three of them left the area. Saitama lived in Z City and had been inviting Roy over for hot pot. Roy, having nothing better to do, agreed. Z City was also a frequent target for monster attacks. Perhaps he'd encounter something interesting. They arrived at Saitama's small apartment and started preparing the hot pot. Roy, finding Saitama's ingredients lacking, produced a feast of delicacies, shocking Saitama into near speechlessness. Poor Genos, as a cyborg, couldn't enjoy the food, no matter how delicious. Chapter 327, Fubuki's Arrival. As Roy and Saitama were enjoying their hot pot, a black car pulled up nearby. The car stopped in front of Saitama's apartment. Click. The door opened, and a tall, elegant woman stepped out. She had dark green hair, delicate features, and wore a stylish green dress beneath a long, white coat. Two men in black suits and sunglasses followed her. Lady Fubuki, is this the place? One of the suited men asked. Yes. According to the address he provided for the hero exam registration, this is it, the woman replied, her voice cool and composed, her arms crossed. There was no prior information on this individual, yet he immediately jumped to 5th rank in B class after the exam. This man is hiding something. Let's find him. With a curt command, she gestured towards the apartment. The men nodded in unison. Meanwhile, Roy, still inside enjoying the hot pot, already knew who had arrived. He hadn't expected Fubuki to show up so soon. Was it because of his B-class ranking? Roy smirked. He turned to Saitama. Saitama, you go ahead and eat. I have something to take care of. Okay, Saitama replied, completely absorbed in his meal. Genos had also noticed the newcomers, but since Roy was handling it, he didn't interfere. Outside, Mountain Ape, ranked 2nd in B class, was just about to knock when the door swung open. Roy stepped out, his gaze sweeping past the suited men to focus on Fubuki. His eyes lit up. Fubuki certainly lived up to her reputation, stunning looks, no doubt. But that haughty attitude needed adjusting. Can I help you? Roy asked with a smile. You're Roy, 5th rank in B class, correct? Fubuki, the rank 1 B class hero, has something to discuss with you, Mountain Ape announced. Oh? Roy looked at Fubuki, amused. Seeing his casual attitude, the other suited man spoke up. Let me remind you. According to regulations, newly promoted B-class heroes are required to pay their respects to Lady Fubuki. Pay respects? Oh, right, I forgot about that. Hello, Fubuki. Just call me Roy, Roy said, offering a casual wave. Fubuki frowned at his flippant attitude and sighed. Do you even know how the Hero Association works? There are factions within the hero ranks. Without joining a group, you won't survive. Oh? Is that so? If you can't survive as a hero without joining a group, then don't be a hero, Roy retorted with a shrug. The two suited men bristled at his words, but they remained silent. It seems you don't understand. It's very difficult to rise in the ranks alone. There will be people who obstruct your progress, Fubuki continued, her voice calm. Oh? And who would that be? Roy asked, a hint of amusement in his eyes. Your fellow heroes, of course, Fubuki replied matter-of-factly. Pfft, haha, seriously, Fubuki, do you think being a hero is like climbing the corporate ladder? Roy couldn't hold back his laughter any longer. Fubuki's face darkened. Eyelashes, Mountain Ape beat him. Make sure he can never be a hero again, she ordered coldly. Yes, ma'am. The two suited men, Eyelashes and Mountain Ape, lunged at Roy. Roy chuckled. Fubuki, if you want to defeat your sister, this kind of gang mentality won't help. True strength doesn't rely on numbers. A true hero doesn't associate with weaklings. He snapped his fingers twice. Bang! Bang! Mountain Ape and Eyelashes were sent flying, as if struck by an invisible force. Fubuki stared in shock. Are you interfering with me? She asked, a faint green aura flickering around her, a sign of her telekinetic abilities. A powerful wind swirled around her, forming a small tornado behind her. Anyone who underestimates me will pay the price. Hell storm! With a shout, Fubuki unleashed the tornado, engulfing Roy. The tornado, filled with debris and dust, obscured their vision. This technique is hard to control. Those caught in it will be torn to shreds. This is your own fault, Fubuki said, slowly dissipating the hellstorm. When the tornado subsided, the scene before her made Fubuki's eyes widen. Fubuki stared in disbelief. Roy stood unharmed within the dissipating tornado, his arms crossed, even yawning as if bored. Roy looked at Fubuki, a hint of disappointment in his eyes. She was still stubborn and arrogant, influenced by her sister's presence. She had threatened to end his hero career just because he disagreed with her. This attitude needed correcting. It seems you don't understand what it means to be a hero. Damn! Fubuki was furious that her attack hadn't even fazed him. She slammed her hands on the ground. Rumble! The ground beneath Roy erupted, attempting to crush him. Roy teleported behind Fubuki. A true hero fights against powerful monsters, protecting the people. Not forming gangs and pretending to be strong. That's pathetic. Shut up. You don't know anything about me. Fubuki shouted angrily, refusing to listen. She unleashed another telekinetic attack. But no matter how she attacked, she couldn't even touch Roy. Roy shook his head. It seemed a lesson was necessary. He used his magic to seal her telekinetic abilities. Fubuki, who had been levitating and using debris as projectiles, suddenly lost control and fell from the sky, landing hard on her backside. Ah! The physical pain was negligible compared to the horrifying realization that her powers were gone. What happened? Why can't I feel my telekinesis? She sat on the ground, muttering in disbelief, on the verge of a breakdown. It was understandable. A powerful Esper suddenly losing their abilities would be devastating. Although her telekinesis wasn't as strong as her sister Tatsumaki's, it was her only hope of surpassing her, her only reliance. But now, it was gone, leaving her feeling lost and vulnerable. Roy walked over and crouched before her, a gentle smile on his face. You said I don't understand you? You're wrong. I understand you perfectly. You've always been a strong-willed girl, Fubuki, but your sister, Tatsumaki, is even more so. Her overprotective nature and overwhelming power have always overshadowed you, forcing you to live in her shadow, always following her lead. But you eventually rebelled against her suffocating protection. With your strength, you could have easily reached A-class. But you wanted to be number one, and the current A-class rank 1 hero is simply too strong. So you stayed in B-class, forming your own group. Am I right? Roy chuckled. Fubuki's expression flickered, but she remained silent. Want your powers back? Finally, Fubuki reacted, her gaze fixed on Roy. You'll return my powers? I can, but not until you understand what it truly means to be a hero. Roy stood up and left. Nearby, Mountain Ape and Eyelashes, having regained consciousness, rushed to Fubuki's side, confused by her disheveled appearance and the devastated surroundings. Lady Fubuki, what happened? Did you defeat that guy? They looked at the scene in bewilderment. Fubuki didn't answer. She was still pondering Roy's words. After a long moment, she struggled to her feet. Let's go. Just then. Beep. 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 Z-City's emergency alarms blared. Emergency evacuation alert. Disaster level, Dragon. All citizens of Z City, please evacuate immediately. Meteor impact in 30 minutes. Fubuki's face paled. A dragon-level disaster? Dragon-level disasters could easily destroy an entire city, and they were at the predicted impact site. Lady Fubuki, what should we do? Should we leave? The suited men asked frantically. Of course, wait. Fubuki suddenly thought of Roy. If he died here, she might never regain her powers. She decided to warn him before leaving. Chapter 328, Dragon-Level Disaster, Meteor Impact, Chaos in Z City. Back at Saitama's apartment, Roy was enjoying the hot pot, noticing Fubuki's actions with a smirk. It seemed his lesson had had some effect. Knock, knock, knock. A knock echoed at the door. Genos, could you get that? Roy asked. Yes, Roy-san, Genos replied, standing up to answer the door. You're the new S-Class Rank 17 hero? Fubuki's eyes widened in surprise as she saw Genos. Who are you looking for? Genos asked, his expression impassive. I'm looking for Roy. Wait, there's a dragon-level disaster happening in Z City. Why are you guys just sitting here eating hot pot? Fubuki exclaimed, seeing Roy and Saitama casually enjoying their meal. Yo! Fubuki, want some? Roy greeted her with a smile and an invitation. Fubuki was exasperated. They were facing a city-destroying disaster, and they were acting like it was a normal day. Weren't they afraid of dying? Fubuki, do you even know what a hero is? Roy asked, continuing to eat. Fubuki was speechless. She wondered if she should just flee Z City now, before it was too late. Seeing her silence, Roy turned to Saitama. Saitama, why don't you tell her? Ha? A hero? Saitama, startled, thought for a moment, then replied, someone who defeats monsters? Well, that's a bit simplistic, but essentially correct, Roy nodded. Simply put, a hero is someone who saves people from danger. They don't need recognition, they just need to do what they believe is right. Saitama was the perfect example, a hero for fun. He cared nothing for fame or recognition, only for defeating monsters and saving people. Roy had to admit, he admired that. Someone who saves people from danger. Fubuki repeated his words thoughtfully. It seemed something clicked. Alright, Saitama, let's go. Time for some hero work, Roy said, snatching the last piece of beef and pulling Saitama up. Even though we're not heroes for fun anymore, we're still getting paid to save people. Roy chuckled. Being a hero and getting paid weren't mutually exclusive. While being a hero for fun seemed noble, earning a living was important too. Look at how poor Saitama was. Yeah, you're right, Saitama agreed, nodding. Fubuki finally snapped out of her daze. You guys can stop that meteor, she asked, incredulous. That was a dragon-level threat. Even most S-Class heroes were helpless against a falling meteor. Yet, these two, a B-Class and a C-Class hero, were acting so casually. She looked at Genos. He seemed calm and confident, so perhaps he had a plan. After all, he was an S-Class hero. I don't have a solution for a meteor of that size. We'll need Saitama-sensei and Roy-san to handle this, Genos admitted. Fubuki's jaw dropped. Genos, an S-Class hero, was calling a C-Class hero sensei? What was going on? Her entire worldview was shattered. Let's go. We don't have much time. Let's find a good vantage point, Roy said, leading the way. Okay. Saitama nodded in agreement. The three of them left the apartment. Hey! Fubuki followed them, but as soon as they stepped outside, they were gone. She turned to Mountain Ape and Eyelashes. Where did they go? They flew away, Mountain Ape said, pointing towards the sky, still stunned. The three of them had flown into the sky at incredible speed, vanishing in the blink of an eye. He had almost missed it. Which direction? Fubuki asked urgently. That way, Mountain Ape pointed towards the center of Z City. Lady Fubuki, weren't we leaving Z City? I've changed my mind. You two go ahead. I have something to do. Fubuki started running towards the city center. Mountain Ape and Eyelashes exchanged glances, then followed her in the car. They were incredibly loyal. Even facing a life-or-death situation, they wouldn't abandon their leader. Lady Fubuki, get in. You guys, Fubuki looked at them, touched by their loyalty. Don't worry about it, Lady Fubuki. This is our choice. We have no regrets. Now, get in. Mountain Ape's words moved Fubuki deeply. She climbed into the car. Without her telekinetic abilities, she wouldn't reach the city center in time. And she wouldn't get to see Roy in action. She was now incredibly curious about his strength. And she hadn't regained her powers yet. Fubuki was determined to follow Roy closely. Z City was in chaos. Countless people tried to flee in their cars, creating massive traffic jams and widespread panic. By the time Fubuki and her men reached the city center, half an hour had passed. Where are they? Fubuki scanned the skies, searching for Roy, Saitama, and Genos. Just then, a metallic figure streaked across the sky, a robot. Fubuki watched as the robot landed on top of a tall building. That must be them. Fubuki's gaze was fixed on the rooftop, but from her vantage point, she couldn't see what was happening up there. She wanted to go to the rooftop, but the building was filled with people trying to escape. She couldn't get through. The meteor loomed in the sky, growing larger with every passing moment. Everyone could clearly see its massive size. Panic intensified. Those who believed they were about to die abandoned all pretense of civility. Looting, arson, assault. Z City descended into chaos. Not far from Fubuki, a burly man, overcome by fear and lust, grabbed a young woman, his intentions clear. The surrounding people, paralyzed by fear, did nothing to help. Stop! Let her go! Fubuki shouted. I'm about to die anyway. And this little lady is still a virgin. Might as well have some fun before the end, the man sneered, tightening his grip on the woman and continuing his assault. The woman, terrified, froze, seemingly resigned to her fate. I said, let her go. Fubuki repeated, about to use her telekinesis, but then she remembered she no longer had her powers. Clenching her teeth, she charged towards the man. However, Fubuki usually relied on her Esper abilities. Without them, she was just an ordinary woman. Perfect. The more the merrier. The man laughed, reaching for Fubuki. Although Fubuki lacked combat training, she had witnessed enough fights to know the basics. She ducked under his grasp and delivered a swift kick to his groin. The man doubled over in pain. But Fubuki's kick lacked power. It had only caused him momentary discomfort. The man recovered quickly and lunged at her. Fubuki knew she couldn't dodge, and she braced herself for the impact. But then, it was as if the man had run into an invisible wall. He stopped before reaching her. This felt familiar, similar to her own telekinesis. Who did that? Was it my sister? Fubuki looked around, but Tatsumaki wasn't there. Could it be him? If it wasn't her sister, then it must have been Roy. With that thought, she looked up at the sky again. The meteor loomed, only minutes away from impact. But Fubuki felt a strange sense of calm, a trust in Roy. He would find a way. I'm Blizzard of Hell, the #1 B-class hero. Don't panic. Don't commit crimes. The S-class heroes are here. This disaster will be resolved. Please remain calm. Fubuki suddenly shouted. The surrounding people recognized her. It's Blizzard of Hell. She must be right. The S-class heroes are here. We're saved. Yes. They'll definitely stop that meteor. The crowd cheered. Meanwhile, on a nearby rooftop, Roy, Saitama, and Genos watched the approaching meteor. They were joined by Bang, the S-Class Rank 3 hero, and Metal Knight's robot. Metal Knight, are you here to deal with the meteor? Bang asked, his arms crossed behind his back. No. I'm here to test a new weapon, the robot replied in its monotonous, mechanical voice. Bang frowned. Before he could say anything, Metal Knight's robot flew towards the meteor. It deployed several missile launchers. Whoosh! 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 Dozens of missiles streaked towards the meteor. Rumble! A series of explosions rocked the sky, drawing the attention of those still in Z City. Yes! The S-Class heroes are fighting. We're saved! They cheered, watching the explosions. However, when the smoke cleared, the meteor remained, completely unharmed. Despair washed over them. It seems I've failed. Oh, well. With those words, Metal Knight turned and flew away. If he stayed any longer, his robot would be destroyed. Roy, Saitama, and the others watched him leave, their expressions unreadable. Chapter 329, Stopping the Meteor, Bang's Astonishment S-Class Promotion. Bang sighed. Even Metal Knight couldn't do anything. Who are you? Saitama, hearing his voice, turned to look at him. You don't know me? Bang looked at them in surprise, then demonstrated a few martial arts poses. Have you seen the water stream rock smashing fist before? This is Bang, the S-Class Rank 3 hero, Silver Phone. Genos introduced him to Saitama and Roy. By the way, Silver Phone, why didn't you evacuate? I'm old, can't run anymore. Besides, my dojo is here, so I didn't want to leave. Bang sighed. Roy understood. Many people refused to abandon their homes, even in the face of death. It was a matter of principle. Genos nodded, then removed his core from his chest and inserted it into his arm. He was preparing to unleash his full power to try and stop the meteor. Genos, what are you doing? Saitama asked, confused. Sensei, I'm going to unleash my incineration cannons at full power to try and stop the meteor, Genos explained, his expression serious. Oh. Saitama nodded. Roy didn't interfere. Once Genos finished prepping his energy. Everyone, stand back. Genos warned, then raised his arm. A beam of intense heat shot towards the sky. The force of the blast almost caused the rooftop to collapse. Rumble. The beam struck the meteor, engulfing it in flames. It's working. The meteor's being pushed back. Bang exclaimed, his eyes wide with surprise. Really? A flicker of hope ignited in Genos' eyes. I think I was wrong, Bang said a moment later. Eventually, Genos' energy reserves were depleted, and the flames dissipated, revealing the meteor, completely unharmed. Having survived atmospheric entry, ordinary flames were useless against it. And now, the meteor was even closer. The impact was only seconds away. Those still in Z City abandoned all hope, bracing for the inevitable. It's over. Nothing we do will change the outcome, Bang sighed. Faced with a natural disaster of this magnitude, even he could only accept his fate. No. Saitama-sensei and Roy-san haven't done anything yet. Genos' words made Bang pause. He looked at Saitama and Roy. He hadn't paid much attention to them initially. If even the S-Class heroes were helpless, what could they possibly do? But Genos' words made him curious. Alright, I'll take care of this. I won't let that meteor fall on Z City. Saitama crouched, ready to punch the meteor. If Z City was destroyed, getting food and groceries would be inconvenient. He had to intervene. Roy, however, stopped him. Even if you destroy it, the fragments will still obliterate Z City. Leave this to me. Oh, you're right. Saitama, convinced by Roy's words, relaxed. Roy-san, how are you planning to stop the meteor? Genos asked curiously. Well, it's quite simple. Roy smirked, then slowly raised his hand towards the meteor. To everyone's astonishment, the rapidly descending meteor, carrying immense kinetic energy, abruptly stopped in mid-air. How? Bang's jaw dropped. He couldn't believe his eyes. The meteor had simply stopped. Seeing the meteor halted in the sky, the people below, who had been awaiting death, suddenly felt a surge of hope. Cheers erupted throughout the city. It's B-Class Rank 5 hero, Demon Lord, who saved us. The Hero Association, monitoring the situation via satellite, instantly knew who had stopped the meteor. They broadcast the news to Z-City, and the cheers intensified, echoing the title Demon Lord. Is this what it means to be a hero? Fubuki stared at the meteor, a sense of awe and admiration washing over her. It seemed she finally understood. Meanwhile, Roy, finding it bothersome to hold the massive meteor aloft indefinitely, especially now that everyone knew he was responsible. He waved his hand, and the meteor changed trajectory, flying away from Z-City and landing in an uninhabited area. Rumble! The impact shook the ground, and the tremors were felt throughout Z-City. Everyone in Z-City was filled with a sense of relief and gratitude. If that meteor had hit, no one would have survived, not even the S-Class heroes. Hero Association Headquarters. A meeting was in progress. Can someone explain to me why this Demon Lord was ranked in B-Class? Sitch, the head of the Hero Association, asked, his voice stern. His power rivals even the top S-Class heroes, yet his performance during the hero exam was average. Perhaps he didn't use his full power during the exam. Full power? I doubt he even used 1% of his strength. That was a dragon-level disaster. Even S-Class Rank 3, Bang, couldn't do anything. The room buzzed with discussion. But one voice stood out. Humph. I should have been the one to handle that. It was just a meteor. A small girl, levitating in the air and surrounded by a green aura, huffed. No one dared to contradict her. This little girl was the Hero Association's trump card. Tatsamaki. There wasn't time to contact you. Now, let's move on. Sitch waved his hand, silencing the discussion. This Demon Lord has successfully resolved a dragon-level disaster, saving the entire city of Z-City, including S-Class hero, Bang. I propose we promote him directly to S-Class. Any objections? Sitch's gaze swept across the room. No one objected. Anyone who could single-handedly stop a dragon-level disaster deserved to be in S-Class. Then it's decided. We'll promote Demon Lord to S-Class Rank 10, Sitch announced. What? Straight to Rank 10? Everyone was surprised. S-Class hero rankings weren't solely based on strength. They also took into account a hero's contributions and achievements. While no one opposed his promotion to S-Class, jumping straight to Rank 10 seemed excessive. They were worried about the other S-Class heroes being demoted and causing resentment. Isn't that too much of a promotion? No, it's not. We notified nearly all available S-Class heroes about the dragon-level disaster in Z-City, yet only Metal Knight, Bang, and the newly promoted Genos showed up. I believe the Demon Lord deserves this honor. Sitch's gaze was sharp. The others either feared for their lives and didn't go, or simply ignored the Hero Association's orders. Sitch's gaze was sharp. He intended this as a wake-up call for the other S-Class heroes. This newcomer, Demon King, possesses immense power. The Hero Association must treat him well. He might become one of our greatest assets in the future. Sitch's words silenced the room. With no further objections, Sitch finalized the decision. The Hero Association's announcement was quickly disseminated. Meanwhile, Roy, ignoring the excitement of Z-City's citizens, returned to Saitama's apartment with Saitama, Genos, and Bang. Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am Bang, the master of the Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist, Bang said formally. Oh. Saitama, sprawled lazily watching TV, responded nonchalantly. Hello, I'm Roy, the newest B-Class hero. Pleased to meet you, Roy introduced himself with a smile. That's incorrect, Roy-san, Genos said. The Hero Association just announced your promotion. You've been promoted from B-Class rank 5 to S-Class rank 10. What? Bang was surprised by Roy's rapid promotion, but considering he had averted the meteor crisis, it made sense. S-Class? Roy was also a bit surprised. The Hero Association was more decisive than he thought. Already S-Class? Looks like I need to get more active too. Saitama seemed a bit envious. I don't really care about rankings, Roy chuckled, waving his hand dismissively. If he had wanted to reach S-Class, he could have easily aced the exam, just like Genos. There was no need for this roundabout method. I see. Bang nodded approvingly. This young man was not only powerful but also humble, not driven by fame or recognition. I also want to thank you. If not for you, my dojo would have been destroyed. Bang valued his dojo highly. It was his legacy. It was why he hadn't evacuated. Chapter 330, Tank Top Tiger Challenge. Fubuki pours her heart out. It was nothing, Roy chuckled, shaking his head. Bang's admiration for the young man grew. Such power, yet no arrogance, truly rare. I should be going. You three are welcome to visit my dojo anytime. Bang extended a formal invitation. We will, Roy replied with a smile and a nod. After seeing Bang off, Roy decided to leave Saitama's apartment as well. He bid farewell to Saitama and Genos, then stepped out onto the street. He was immediately recognized. Hey! You cheater! A voice shouted from behind him. Roy paused, turning to see a muscular man in a tank top. Are you talking to me? Roy asked, pointing at himself, feigning confusion. Of course. You cheated. You rode the coattails of the S-Class heroes and got promoted straight to S-Class. That's cheating, the man shouted, his voice filled with indignation. And you are? Roy asked, his expression impassive. I'm Tank Top Tiger. Remember that name. I'm going to expose you. Tank Top Tiger declared, pointing at himself proudly. Ha! There are idiots everywhere, I see. Roy scoffed. There were always those who sought fame through such foolish methods. It was pathetic. You called me an idiot? Big bro. Tank Top Tiger roared, calling for backup. Did someone call for me, little bro? Another muscular man, wearing a black tank top, appeared before they could finish speaking. It's him. He stole the credit from the S-Class heroes and jumped from B-Class to S-Class. That's never happened before in the Hero Association. Tank Top Black Hole, Tiger's older brother, glared at Roy, his voice loud, clearly trying to attract attention. His tactic worked. A crowd quickly gathered. So? What are you going to do about it? Roy asked, his arms crossed, amused by their antics. We're going to beat you, of course. And expose you for the B-Class fraud you are. You're not fit to be an S-Class hero. Tank Top Black Hole declared. Is that so? Then come at me. Roy didn't waste any more words. He beckoned them forward with a dismissive wave of his hand. This gesture further enraged the Tank Top brothers, and they charged at Roy, roaring. Many of the onlookers had witnessed Roy stopping the meteor. They didn't believe the Tank Top brothers' accusations. However, some were now starting to doubt Roy's strength. Just then, Fubuki and her two subordinates arrived. After the meteor crisis was averted, Fubuki had gone to the rooftop to find Roy, but he was gone. She had then rushed back to Saitama's apartment, only to find it surrounded by a crowd. Curious, she pushed her way through. It's Roy. Fubuki recognized him instantly. Listening to the surrounding conversations, she quickly understood the situation. These idiots, I hope they get what's coming to them, she muttered, hoping they wouldn't be too badly injured. She knew how powerful Roy was. The Tank Top brothers reached Roy and threw punches. Against an ordinary person, those blows would be devastating. Roy sneered. Without any visible movement, he froze the two brothers in place. Then, to their horror, ice began to spread from their feet, slowly encasing them. Crack! 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 The sound of spreading ice filled the air as the tank top brothers screamed in terror. No! Help! Let me go! You're supposed to be a hero. How can you do this? I don't want to die. Their cries sent chills down the spines of the onlookers. Soon, their screams were silenced as they were completely encased in ice. The crowd watched in horrified silence, afraid to even breathe, lest they become the next victims. Even Fubuki was shocked by Roy's casual display of power. Whether the tank top brothers were dead or alive, they were definitely suffering. She was also surprised by his ruthlessness. He had frozen them solid just for a mere provocation. Roy ignored the frozen brothers and turned to leave. Roy, please wait. A voice called out. He turned to see Fubuki running towards him. Roy looked at Fubuki in surprise. He hadn't expected her to follow him here. What is it? Are you here to plead for their release? He asked, a playful smirk on his face. He assumed she wanted him to spare the tank top brothers. However, Fubuki's response surprised him. No, I'm not. This kind of thing happens all the time. It's their own fault, she said, shaking her head. Each S-class hero was incredibly powerful, and most of them had eccentric personalities. Anyone foolish enough to insult them deserved whatever happened to them. The Hero Association wouldn't intervene. They were too busy trying to appease the S-class heroes. Then what do you want? Roy asked, turning to leave. He didn't want to be surrounded by the crowd any longer. Fubuki quickly followed. You want your powers back, don't you? Roy chuckled, seeing her hesitation. Yes. My Esper abilities are very important to me. Please, Roy, give them back. Fubuki pleaded. I can, but not yet. I've been observing you, Fubuki. You've made progress. You're almost a true hero. If I'm in a good mood, I might return your powers, and perhaps even make them stronger. Stronger? Fubuki's eyes lit up. Can you make me stronger than my sister? Your sister? Tatsumaki, S-class rank 2? Yes. Fubuki nodded eagerly. Of course. That's easy, Roy smirked, nodding confidently. He has countless ways to make Fubuki stronger than her. Fubuki was thrilled. The chance to surpass her sister was finally within reach. She had to seize this opportunity. But then, she realized something. Roy had said he would only return her powers if he was in a good mood. How could she improve his mood? Roy, are you in a good mood right now? She asked cautiously. Roy's eye twitched. No. Definitely not. Fubuki frowned, trying to think of a way to cheer him up. Roy, seeing her deep in thought as she followed him, chuckled inwardly. He sighed dramatically. It's getting late, and I don't even have a place to stay. Fubuki's eyes lit up. I have a place. If you don't mind. Then what are we waiting for? Lead the way. Roy said, gesturing for her to proceed. Oh. Right. This way. Fubuki hurried off, leading the way. Roy followed behind her. Mountain ape and eyelashes trailed behind them. They were both intimidated by Roy, especially after witnessing the tank top brothers being frozen solid. It sent shivers down their spines. They vowed never to provoke this demon lord. Soon, Fubuki led them to a detached villa. Mountain ape and eyelashes had already departed. Wow, not bad. Roy looked around the villa, impressed by its elegant decor. My sister gave me this place, but I don't like it, Fubuki said, pouring him a cup of tea. Why not? Roy asked, sipping his tea. Fubuki sighed and began to explain. Driven by her desire to surpass Tatsumaki, she had left A City in defiance and come to Z City, hoping to make a name for herself. Her sister, Tatsumaki, was the guardian of A City. Fubuki knew she couldn't thrive under her sister's shadow. Although Tatsumaki had tried to stop her, she eventually relented due to Fubuki's stubbornness. This villa was a gift from Tatsumaki back then. Roy listened patiently, though he found the story rather mundane. It was just a typical sibling rivalry between an overprotective older sister and a rebellious younger sister. He couldn't say who was right or wrong. It was their own choice. Once Fubuki started talking, she couldn't stop. She began pouring out her frustrations about her sister to Roy. Roy, seeing no way to interrupt, simply listened patiently. They chatted until late into the night. "All right, it's getting late. You should get some rest," Roy said, finally finding an excuse to end the conversation. He was getting bored listening to her complaints. "Okay. You should rest too," Fubuki nodded and went to her room. That wraps up this part of What If Reborn in Highschool DxD is a Lucifuge. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.